Welcome to our Why-Try webinar. I just realized I've got to update my name so that it actually says who I am. I am going to be
Made it sound like it was a random choice.
I was choosing from a list.
To be.
I am Jason Johnson, representing the Why-Try organization, and welcome to our Why-Try webinar today. Appreciate you all being here. Really excited for what we have to cover today. Just as a little bit of a review on these, we are scheduled to go for about an hour. And what we like to do is explore different concepts, different topics, and how they relate to resilience. Organizationally, the Why-Try organization really specializes in resilience. And that's been the running theme throughout these webinars. We've been doing these for about 2 years now, and they've turned into a really fun community where we get some familiar faces that show up regularly and engage with us around them. And then pretty regularly, we get new faces as well. So for those that this may be your first webinar, welcome. We're excited to have you. We hope you'll participate in the chat, and we hope that you'll hopefully come back and join us for some more. And for those that have been to some before, welcome back. Always love catching up with some of you on these webinars. My name is Jason Johnson. I represent the Why-Try organization that hosts these. And today's actually, before I introduce the topic for today, I'll introduce the topic and then I'll lay out some ground rules. Today's topic is pathways to positive peer interactions. Some good enunciation there. Tips to counter negative influence in K through 12 classrooms, and tips for starting the school year with energy and resilience. That's a real fancy way of saying we are going to be using some of the Why-Try resources today to demonstrate how to explore and foster positive peer interactions. And a lot of feedback we've gotten as we've kicked off this new year is a lot of people really looking for resources to help strengthen and support those peer influences as we're getting back at it at another year. So for these webinars, it's really helpful if we can if we can have everybody utilizing the chat tool a little bit as far as you're willing. We're on a webinar link, so Corey and myself as the panelists are the only ones with live microphones and cameras. We can't see you and we can't hear you. The only interaction that we have with you is through the chat. And the chat is a really fun place to share some ideas and to respond to what's happening. So it's helpful if everybody is willing to adjust their chat settings. If you open up your chat box where you would type in a message, right above where you type the message, it says to, and then there's a little drop-down menu. That drop-down menu should say to everyone. If it says anything besides that, if it says like to hosts and panelists, when you share your message, it's not going to be able to be seen by everybody. And I feel like the chat becomes a little bit more valuable if everybody's willing to make that adjustment. So if you're willing to make that adjustment, after you make it, go ahead and just throw an emoji into the chat that tells us how your week's going so far. And we'll be able to quickly gauge how if you've got your chat settings adjusted over. Oh, look at that. We've got such a good, I love the upside down emojis are they bring a particular level of delight to me. Okay, looks good. Looks like most everybody has their chat settings adjusted over, at least everybody that responded. So thank you for doing that. And then thank you in advance for engaging through the chat. So I mentioned we're going to be exploring this kind of specific Why-Try approach to building positive peer interactions. Let me introduce our panel today, which will consist of myself and a colleague and friend of mine named Corey Anderson. Let me give Corey a proper introduction. Corey Anderson has spent over 2 decades as an educator, beginning as an ESL paraprofessional, worked at a Title I school, oversaw other paraprofessionals during school hours, and managed some after-school programs. Ended up pursuing a career in education, worked as a 5th and 6th grade teacher in a Spanish full immersion program, taught core subjects in Spanish, as well as developing additional curriculum for the program, became an administrator, and as an administrator pioneer and started one of the first public STEM programs in the state of Utah. And then has helped consult with the State Office of Education on creating standards for schools that would eventually be adopted by the STEM Action Center. During that tenure, also oversaw behavioral units, led a school in implementing systems of support, enrichment, academic programs, etc. Came over to the Y-Tri team in 2019, and here at Y-Tri has worked as a trainer as well as the director of curriculum development after using its tools for close to 10 years as a counselor. I get the luxury of being able to work on development projects and training projects with Corey quite a bit. Welcome, Corey. Really glad that you were able to join us on the webinar today.
Thank you. Very excited to be here. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah, it should be. I am Jason Johnson. My background is before being with the Y-Tri organization, I worked in public ed as a school psychologist. Absolutely loved what I did. I worked for the largest school district in the state of Utah. It's called Alpine School District, where I also used some of the Y-Tri resources. And then about 8 years ago, I came over and joined the Y-Tri team, and I work as a trainer as well as the director of training. And I feel really fortunate that I get to go out and interact with educators and mental health professionals throughout the country on a regular basis. And it's really just one of the great joys of my life. So today, what we wanted to do was model and demonstrate some of our resources and some of our approaches to a subject that I think is very, very important to all educators, especially right now. I think we're at an interesting time with young people and in education where this topic is really, really critical. And we have some fun resources, and I'm really excited as well. I'm just going to give you a little teaser right now. We have it set up. We're going to be able to get some of the resources that we show you into your hands as well. We've got a cool setup to be able to do that. To thank you for showing up to our webinar today. So I'm going to start by turning the time over to Corey and let Corey kick us off with this idea of the Y-Tri approach, and then we'll go back and forth from there as we dig into it further and model some of it for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Yeah. Excited to be here, my friends. I want to make sure that we take advantage of our time. We have some really cool stuff planned. So this first part, it's gonna be more of just a quick teaser of what this is, but we always want to start here just to frame what it is that we do as an organization. And a lot of you have been through, either a webinar before, or maybe you use Y-Tri, one of our trainings. So you're going to be familiar with this first 3 to 5 minute part that we're about to do, but we just want to lay the groundwork really quickly. And that is, we want to share with you the Y-Tri model and approach so that you understand exactly what it is that we're doing. What that basically is the Y-Tri model and approach is our method of working with students. This is how we work with students. If you think about it, we are trying to facilitate some real life skills that, they just don't happen overnight. And quite frankly, even as adults, we are still working on some of the things that we address through Y-Tri, one of those being peer relations and how to interact with peers. What does that look like, not just in school, but outside of school? That's a big topic. And so going down that road, it's not necessarily simple, but Y-Tri has an approach to doing this. And so you can see on the screen in front of you, it says the Y-Tri model and approach. The difference there is just simply the Y-Tri model is just a really easy way to remember and understand the approach. The approach is kind of where the rubber hits the road. It's what it actually looks like and sounds like. So here it is without further ado. Again, I expect some of you to already know it's coming. I'm hoping, but that is the 3 R's. So our model is called the 3 R's. Relationship plus relevance leads to resilience. And without, going really deep here, I just want to quickly state, I imagine that if I were to ask you why each of these are important, you'd be able to, feedback some really good insights based on your own experiences. But just as a quick summary of why this is so important, relationship, when I ask educators why relationship is so critical to what we do, the answers are usually along the lines of because it's foundational, because trust is so important. And that is 100% correct, right? I like to dig a little deeper sometimes and ask why. Why is it foundational? Why is trust so critical? And it really comes down to what we're trying to do with the people we're working with, whatever your role is. I imagine that what we're doing, what we all have in common, is that we are trying to facilitate learning. We're trying to help the people we work with learn. And whether that's learning academics, whether that's learning life skills, whether that is, self-reflection and self-improve, whatever it is, it's usually learning, and learning requires vulnerability. And the bottom line is our students, the people we work with, for them to be vulnerable with us, there has to be a relationship there. The second thing there is relevance. Again, why is relevance so critical? Because quite frankly, when it comes to learning, if I don't see the point of why this is important to me, then it's going to be hard for me to be vulnerable, for me to give my time, to give my energy. And so it's really critical for me to be able to connect dots between what I am doing and engaging in and with some sort of importance to me. And as adults, we usually have a better frame of doing that when we're working with younger grades. Sometimes that can be a little tougher to create that relevance. Unfortunately, we've found that a lot of times our attempt at making something relevant with the people we work with is usually just by tapping into one mode of engagement, meaning that we usually fall back on verbal discourse, where we just have this really, passionate conversation with someone and try to explain to them why something's important. Well, we do things, we have an approach here at YTri that is built on those first 2 R's. We are here to talk about how to do that, because that's really what this is. We are trying to help educators understand how to build relationship, how to create relevance in what you do with the people you work with, in order to help them develop the third one, which is the skills of resilience. And I'm not going to say anything about that. Jason's going to share some about that, but just to kind of round this out and give you some food for thought to think about if you're not familiar with YTri. The YTri approach is built on what you see in front of us. This is how we create relevance and relationship. You will see on the left side is a list of some of the content that we use to tap in to many different modes of learning. We're not just trying to have verbal interactions with kids to tell them what they should think or feel about their own lives. Instead, we are trying to engage them in multiple learning styles and in different ways that they like to learn, quite frankly. And then on the right side, those are the skills that we focus on and develop to make that possible. And so there's quite a list there. Great stuff there. And we probably have webinars where we dig into some of those all by themselves. So way too much here, but I wanted to give you just a front load of what we're about, what our approach is, and we're going to model it for you in a moment. But what you see here on the screen taps into relevance and relationship. What we're missing on the screen are what these skills of resilience are. And so I do want you to know what that is. And so Jason, if you want to share the skills of resilience now, that'd be great.
Yeah, happy to do it. I'm going to go through fairly quickly. So Corey gave a great overview of what this YTri approach is. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek to where, just so you have an idea, you're going to see us share here momentarily some pretty engaging content. And it comes from this toolkit of resources that we have. We've been around organizationally for about 20 years, and we built out a really robust set of tools. And we're going to share a few of them with you today, but we've organized our tools around these skills of resilience. You see over on the left column, you see these learning units. That's kind of how we group our skills of resilience. Ultimately, what we're trying to teach our kiddos using this Y-Tri approach is how to be more resilient. And resilience is all about how a person responds to adversity. And it really impacts every element of our life. For a student, resilience can impact how you respond to a difficult subject, or how you respond to feeling overwhelmed with a heavy workload, or how you respond to being stressed out by managing multiple subjects, multiple classes. Resilience also impacts how we respond with our interpersonal interactions as well, how we navigate a social structure and how we deal with conflict and conflict resolution between us and other human beings, with our friends and our friendship structure that we're a part of, as well as people in authority that may be in our lives as well, that can, come in the form of teachers or administration, et cetera. And it's this concept, resilience, that has implications for the rest of our life. Grown-ups' ability to deal with adversity is also directly connected to their resilience. So one of the most important things we can help our kiddos with that has academic implications, social implications, mental health implications, et cetera, is if we can figure out a model to help them improve that idea of resilience. So what we've done organizationally is we have developed these skills of resilience that our content is built around. And I'm just going to give you a very, very brief overview of what these skills of resilience are. And then I'm going to throw it back to Corey, and we're going to do a deep dive into one of our favorite ones today. But we have these Y-Tri skills of resilience. The first one is decision-making, all about the decision-making that we make, recognizing that choices have consequences and decisions we make today impact our future. For each one of our learning units, we have a model that we use to teach these concepts. We use visual metaphors, and we really try to make it engaging. So we take a visual metaphor, we start with a picture, then we try to connect it to one of our concepts, and then we try to make it engaging in the process using things like media clips, activities, processing questions, etc. And that's what we're going to model today. So our next skill of resilience after decision-making is all about developing a positive sense of self or self-image, how we view ourselves. Can we tear off negative labels that we have attached to us? Next, we're going to look at emotional regulation. How do I respond when I'm in a situation when my emotions become elevated, when I become frustrated, angry, etc.? After that, we dig into developing a resilient mindset. Resilient mindset is all about the perspective we have towards our challenges. How do I view the challenges that I have? And that impacts how I respond to them. After that, we really want to examine peer influence and relationships. One of the biggest influences on us and how we interact with adversity in our life sometimes connects back to the peer relationships that we have. And our peers have such a huge impact on us, potentially for good and for bad. This is the one we're going to be exploring today, this particular skill of resilience. After that, we like to dig into problem solving. Resilient individuals are typically good problem solvers, and they apply a good formula for solving problems. Hard work and determination. Resilient individuals typically have some level of hard work or determination within them, particularly that idea of determination that connects to things like persistence and endurance and perseverance, some of those words that commonly get associated with resilience. So we want to help develop that at a key level. Next, we have responsibility, expectations, and I would also add self-discipline to that. Resilient individuals typically recognize and follow some model of responsibility, expectations, self-discipline. Next, we have relationship building. Resilient individuals typically are able to tap into different sources of positive support that help strengthen them in the face of adversity and also help them work towards achieving positive goals in their life. That's a critical skill of resilience. And then last but not least, kind of one of the big overarching concepts of resilience is this idea of self-efficacy. And self-efficacy becomes one of the byproducts of applying these other skills of resilience, where we start to build confidence and develop confidence that we can influence our outcomes. When a human believes and has the confidence they can actually start to influence those outcomes, that is this quality of self-efficacy that has a real direct connection to resilience as well. So that's, I think, concludes kind of the base level foundational pieces. Now we're going to dig into kind of the fun part, which is how we actually deliver and model some of these skills. And so we have a specific one today that we're going to model. I'm going to let Corey get things started with it, and we've got some fun stuff for you, and then we'll see where it goes. Corey?
Yep. Okay, my friends. Make sure I've got everything set up here. Okay, we do. So yeah, peer relationships and influence. I'm going to be modeling some things that's in some of our materials that we do with primary grades. I do want to caution you though. If you see that word primary grades and immediately think, oh, well, okay, this isn't necessarily going to be something that I would use, you may be surprised. Keep in mind that we're about to do everything we're about to do with a room full of adults. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. So today, right now, in this webinar, this chat window, we have a quest. We are going to discover the kindest creature in the universe. That is our goal for today. We are going to try to discover the kindest creature in the universe. And so as a part of this activity, I'm going to be asking you to do a few things. I'm hoping that, you're willing to engage in the chat window and maybe do a few out of the box things that you don't realize is about to come your way. So the first thing I would like you to do is the following. Hopefully, if you have something you're taking notes on, or you can type it out somewhere, or even make a mental list for yourself. We'll do one in the chat window as well. But I want you to think about that word of being kind, and I want you to just kind of imagine, what would the kindest creature in the entire universe, on this planet, on other planets, on some starway out there, what qualities or attributes would the kindest creature have? Go ahead and make a list for yourself. And as well, at the same time, when you come across one that you really like, I would love for you to share one in the chat window. What qualities or attributes would a kind creature have? What do you think? Go ahead and put it in the chat window. Let's see some of the things that people are bringing up here. Putting others before self. Okay, I like it. Being considerate. I'm just going to start naming them, some of them out loud, and listen to these as you hear me say them. That might influence your list. If I say one as you're sitting there creating a list that you like, write it down. And I'm going to skip those that I've seen already. So if I skip yours, that's why. So empathy, sensitivity, and warmth. Patience. I like it. Compassion. Generous. Loving. Trustworthy. Caring. Thoughtful. Joy, helpful. These are great. Perspective. That's an interesting one, Elsa. I would love to dig deeper into some of these answers, by the way. If we had time, I would probably be really interested in why you're sharing some of these attributes as being part of the kindest creature. Okay, awesome. This is a great list. So I'm going to pause you there now, and we're going to kind of take a bit of a left turn. So I hope you're ready for this. You have a great list of qualities and attributes that the kindest creature in the universe would have. So now what I want you to do is I want you to look around your space and find either a notepad, a sticky note, your notebook paper, anything you have at your disposal. And what we're going to do is the following. I am going to ask you to actually create an image, create a picture. I want you to design what this creature would look like using the qualities that you and others shared in the chat window. What would that kindest creature look like if you were to take a snapshot picture? We are actually going to give you about 3 minutes to actually draw what this image is. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes you can use. Obviously, you probably all have a pen at your disposal, but If you carry around colored pencils and crayons, go crazy. The 3 minutes has already begun. So I'm going to invite you to keep going with that. I want you to know that in a normal situation, I would put on some fun background music to this, probably that the lyrics had something to do with creatures and animals and things like that. Unfortunately, if we were to do that, we post these videos to YouTube afterwards, and YouTube would flag it because of the music. So we're not going to put music up in the background, but we're going to take now 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes left, and go ahead and draw that, sketch that out. My timer starts now. I'm going to ask you to do something with this picture, so keep that in mind. You've got 2 minutes.
So they're scratching out a doodle, a stick figure, or a more extravagant, if they care to, of a creature, and it can either be a representation of an existing creature or an imaginary creature. It's whatever their creativity generates as a drawn representation of the kindest creature that they're coming up with. Do I have that right?
You do. And if they had the same artistic talent that I have, then it's probably close to a doodle. I think that word captured that correctly. You have about a minute before I'm going to ask you to do something with that. But think about those qualities and how that maybe impacts your picture. Keep going. Jason, I want you to know that if I was doing this for the first time, I would be sketching a portrait of you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't believe
that. Okay, my friends, keep going. I want you to keep going. However, if you find that you're getting close to finishing, now what I would like you to do is is that the right number, Jason? Double check that.
Hey, that's my number.
Oh, hey, I forgot to put mine up there. I want you to take a picture of it with your phone, if you can, and send it to Jason. Take a picture of that kindest creature and send it to Jason. You don't have a lot of time to do this, and I guarantee you, we will try to capture as many as we can, but we are a little limited here. Just trying to give you a flavor of what this looks like and sounds like. But let me know when some start coming in, Jason.
Yep.
And
so Corey put my actual cell phone up. We're gonna have you snap a pic and send it to my cell. If you're willing, of the kindest creature that you drew.
We did we took a risk doing this over the internet. I just typed that in for time check. Okay.
I've got a few coming in.
Okay, good.
Oh, these are great. Are you kidding me? People are so creative.
I know, right? People are creative.
And simple creativity delights me so much. These are phenomenal.
Jason, when you think you have a good amount, let me know. Yep. And I'm going to turn it over to your screen to what we're going to do is I want us to go through these a little bit, and we're going to take a look at these pictures, and I want you to pay attention to the images, maybe some things you see in common from one image to the next, and maybe what you see in that image that portrays this idea of kindness. Okay. So hopefully we're getting close there, Jason.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can get one or two more, and then we'll.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to actually stop sharing there for a moment. You're getting some good ones.
Yeah, people are incredible.
I won't lie. I'm excited to see them. I asked Jason to do this, by the way, because this part of technology, I always get really,
I'm endlessly amazed at what people can create out of a limited time and a pencil and a Post-it note. People are so good. All right, I've got a good collection here.
Okay, awesome.
I got about 10. Let me see if I get one more. And then I'm gonna share these. I'm gonna pull them up and we'll look at them one at a time. Corey, you can give whatever commentary you'd like on them.
Yeah, of course, we'll do.
Okay.
So again, pay attention to the qualities that you see in the picture, attributes, maybe some that you see, appear more than once as you look at these images, and look for one that you liked and maybe why you like it. I'm going to
All right,
ask you
here's the
a
first
question.
one. Look at that.
Okay.
That is the
Jason knows
definition.
how I feel about those
That
dogs.
is the definition of puppy dog eyes. Those are kind eyes.
Those are
Perfect.
kind eyes.
Okay, you ready for some more?
Yeah. Yep. Just keep flowing through.
Okay, the next
See what
ones
you
will
got.
come through a little more fast and furious. Here we go. All right. Look at this.
I love it. Juggling hearts, or just
A
this like
heart,
electricity of heart around them.
a heart juggling hearts. Look at this one.
I'm here for you. Love it.
Looks like they're holding some type of gifts that probably would help a person feel better about their day.
And Diet Cokes. I think that's what that was.
That it's got to be Diet Cokes. Look at this.
I
This
think
is,
those are wings or two tails.
it might be ears. I think it's just a fun, like wise, like fox type creature that's just there letting us know you're not alone. That's how I take it.
It's true.
Look at this one. Are you kidding
Oh,
me?
look, Mother Teresa. This person, whoever drew that. Well done.
That's what I'm saying. Look at this. This is a dog
I
wagging its
love,
tail.
yeah, the tail wagging. That's great.
This one, so good, just perfect, simple, a little smile, a kind smile on its
Loyal.
face.
It's true. I like the stripes too. The stripes are comforting.
And then last but not least, look at this. Are you kidding me?
What? What?
How, how good is that?
I have no words. I have no words. Okay, I'm ready to keep going. Okay, thanks, Jason. So, what I'd like to do is ask you a few questions, my friends. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. I just realized I didn't share my screen, and I just went into presentation mode. There we go. Oh, I don't want to do that either. Hold on. There we go. That's what I want to share. Okay, here we go. So thank you for doing that. Feel free to answer in the chat window. I have some questions for you guys. What qualities in the list do you feel that you saw in those pictures? Like all of those words that you saw come down, and then we started looking at those images. What qualities do you feel you saw actually visually portrayed in those images? Go ahead and share. Yeah, definitely loving and caring. I saw that one quite a bit. Happiness, sweet. Yeah. Lisa, by the way, your chat window, and Quilly, your chat window settings, nobody could see your answers there. If you switch it to everyone, then they'll see it. Caring, compassion, for sure. You'll see the second question there. Which picture beside your own did you like and why? So go ahead. This is, I mean, we're not, ranking necessarily, but which ones did appeal to you specifically? I personally were quite partial to the dog ones that resembled dogs. Anybody who's been and talked to me before, you know how much I love my pups. So, oh, Diane, that last one was like a get well card. Nice. Clint echoes that one as well. Oh, that last one's getting a lot of love. Okay, I like it. Oh, really? Is it Diona? I'm not sure. Either way, very similar to what you did. No problem, Jennifer. So let's talk. You notice that next question, and I'm going to put those last two questions together. What real animal on earth do you think would be considered the kindest creature on earth, and why? What do you think? So we're going to eliminate the rest of the galaxy because none of us are star traveling yet in 2023. So let's just focus on Earth. What do you think is the kindest creature on Earth and why? Okay. I mean, dog is clearly a very popular answer here. See some others, though, coming in. Some kittens, dolphins. Somebody brought up their specific guinea pig is the kindest creature. I like that. Bunny. Oh, I like it, Diane. Humans, the ability to change and or save lives. A lot of depth there. I appreciate that. Lamb, because they are gentle, soft, mild manner. Thank you, friends. So for sake of time, I'm going to move forward. I think we could continue to talk a little bit about some of your answers here in processing this. But without further ado, I actually want us to watch a video. And we are going to watch a video of what there are actually a lot of people consider the kindest creature on Earth. And Savannah, you actually just nailed it. And so we're going to watch a video of what is called a capybara. If any of you are in social media and you start looking at capybaras, your feed will be filled with capybaras. As we watch this video, I want you to look for examples that stand out to you of a capybara showing kindness. Okay? Oh, well, there we go. I forgot to do that. Here we go.
Did you know that capybaras are not only the largest rodent in the world, but also the friendliest ones? These semi-aquatic mammals are native to South America and have been known to form close bonds with other animals, including humans. They are highly social creatures that live in groups of around 10 to 20 individuals and have a unique ability to get along with a wide range of other species. But what makes them so friendly? Well, capybaras are herbivores, meaning they don't hunt or prey on other animals, and therefore don't pose a threat to any other species. They are extremely friendly and don't care what you do around them, as long as they don't get hurt. Apart from that, they have a unique way of showing affection too. They often groom, cuddle, and even sleep on top of each other. However, capybaras are also tough and resilient animals that have adapted to living in a variety of environments. They are excellent swimmers and can hold their breath underwater for up to 5 minutes.
Okay, my friend. So I have some questions. And you pick any of these because for sake of time, I want to get to some other things. But what examples did you see there of capybaras being kind? What qualities did you notice that capybaras have that we kind of talked about the kindest creature on the, in the universe having? If you'll start with those two. Candace is currently shopping in her web browser for capybaras now. You loved riding the alligator? Yeah, for sure. Cuddly, non-threatening. They seem to get along with all types of animals, right? The herbivore, perfect. Yeah. Nose rubbing, friend to all. Yeah, so some really good examples of capybaras being kind. Definitely. You need to know, if I was doing this with students, we would now take a moment and talk about why being kind is important and why it's even important to be kind at school. At that point, we're going to kind of leave using a video. And I want to show actually what we love to use in YTRI, and that is what we call visual metaphors. We're going to use a visual metaphor. We're going to look at some artistic depictions of capybaras. And as we look at these, I want you to name in the chat window, what is this an example of being kind? How is this an example of being kind? So for the first one, I want you to take a look at this image. Here is an image of some capybaras. How are they being kind? What do you see going on here that tells you that kindness is happening? Yeah, inclusivity, right, Susie? The monkey is obviously very different than the capybaras, right? But here they are, obviously not just in close proximity, but kind of supporting each other. They all have smiles on their faces. They seem relaxed. They obviously get along with each other. And so really, I think Susie nailed it with this idea of inclusivity, recognizing that although there are things that make us different, we can always include everyone around us. So why is including others an important way to be kind? Why is it important to include others? What do you think? Why is it important to include others? Or at least why is that an example of being kind? Yeah, no one wants to be isolated. We learn from others. I like that, Candace. Yeah, to help others feel a part of something, feel a part of a community, feel a part of a team. Belonging builds rapport. Definitely. I love it. Great answers, guys. Yeah, sometimes we may find ourselves in the same position. How would we feel? Definitely. What does that look like in school, in our classrooms? Imagine that you're a student in a classroom. What does that look like in school? Even think, let's use whatever grade levels you work with. What does that look like in school? Inclusion and including others. Okay, sharing snacks. Buddy benches. Yeah, the buddy benches are fun. Definitely a great way. Ambassadors that go out and reach out to others, maybe at recess on the playground, who are on their own. Nice. Okay, yeah, including and Tyrone, that's a great example of how to do it. Talk to people that dress or act differently than you. Don't feel like those differences make you have to be separated or stand apart from each other. I like it. Smiles, yeah. Allow us to be ourselves without judgment. Sports teams, great way to do it. Nice. Some of those differences and labels that surface in education, don't let those stand in the way of including everyone. Good stuff. I love it. Thank you, friends. Great examples there. I really would love to go deeper with some of them too and talk about it. But I want to, again, keep covering some different things. By the way, I have, as a part of our visual metaphor, there are actually two other examples here. You get the idea, though. You're definitely getting a sense of what this is like. So we now walk through these metaphors, and we use the metaphor as we built this and framed this understanding about this kind creature, what qualities those creatures would have. And now we're starting to apply them to what our actual everyday in real life looks like, right? In terms of with students. Here's another one. Let's ask the same question here. How is this being kind? What is going on in this image that tells you that the capybara is being kind? In what way? The first one was including others. This one is helping others. That's exactly right, Candace. Why is helping others an important way to be kind? And again, we're going to actually skip processing that. You get the idea. We're then going to ask that question. How can we do that at school? What does that look like at school in terms of helping others? Actually, I've got just a minute here. I would love to hear a couple of your answers for that last one. Thinking about your students and some of the things that go on. How can they help others at school? Watching out for others. Thank you, Quilly. Others didn't see Quilly's answer, but Quilly just wrote watching out for others. Maybe helping with schoolwork. Okay, good. What does helping others look like in our classrooms, in our school hallways, on the playground, in the lunchroom? Maybe trying to cheer them up when they're disappointed. Thank you, Lisa. Comforting others. There's some different answers coming in here. Great ones to go back and just kind of read through. Thanks, guys. Great answers. You get the idea. The third part of the image will then look like this. I want to see if you can pick up on this one. So what do you see going on here that that might speak to this idea of being kind? And even the video alluded to it a little bit there at the end. It gave an example. Yeah, nice, Rachel. You picked up on that. So you see that they travel and they stay in groups, and you will notice that one of the capybaras is looking out for others. And so watching out, right, for others that might be more vulnerable or in need of help, but just keeping an eye on, almost, yeah, being vigilant, not necessarily being a bystander, but actively, standing up for others and being on the lookout for them. So great ideas there, friends. We would use this to build really important conversations with our students, depending on, the different settings that we work with, and talking about what this is going to look like for us in our classroom, in our groups, in our school, and then start putting those things into practice. The end of this lesson, We would end with a resilience booster where we keep track of acts of kindness and examples of how our classmates are showing kindness, and keep revisiting this concept as we move forward. So what I just shared with you is a typical lesson of ours for our primary grades, where we use our visual metaphor and activity of video to really start digging into a concept that's actually abstract and trying to make it more easy to understand in the minds and eyes of our primary age kids. Now, what Jason is going to do is going to show how we build on that to go towards some older kids, and how we use that as a foundation for taking this even deeper. So Jason, you're up.
Thanks, Corey. Great job. So I'm going to take a quick step back and give you kind of a broad overview of what it is we're trying to do here with this skill of resilience, specifically this skill of resilience around peer relationship, peer influence, and relationships. So what Corey just shared is what we would typically introduce at like a younger grade level. And we actually have grade banded concepts that we have that build up towards this overarching skill of resilience, which is peer relationships and peer influence. So Corey just focused on the concept of kindness. We want to help our kiddos develop a foundation of kindness. Now, as you can see, he was delivering this to you. You all are grown-ups, and these concepts are still very applicable to us, even though we're much older than grades 1 and 2 students would be. And so these concepts have been designed to still be applicable, even though we've highlighted key concepts that align with grade bands. Now, after we teach kindness, where we typically go after that, is then we want to introduce the idea of a positive friend. We typically would introduce that about somewhere around grades 3 and 4. And we actually use geese flying in a V formation and helping each other out, taking turns at the front of the V, taking turns further back in the V, as a way that they support one another. And they're great examples of animals that are supportive and friendly to one another. So we're still building this positive foundation of kindness, being a positive friend, finding positive friends. From there, then later elementary, we introduce the idea of how sometimes there are individuals out there, sometimes they might even be our friends, that might do things that can kind of function as traps. And we introduce this idea of like a crab trap underwater, and how there's certain things where sometimes if we follow friends along, we might end up in a difficult situation, such as like a crab trap. That all of those things lead us towards our secondary conversation that would typically happen in a secondary setting, which is all about preparing ourselves to be strong in the face of peer pressure and things we can do to try to get out of certain pots or traps that we may be in. So that's what I want to highlight for you. I'm going to go through fairly quickly because I want to be respectful of time. We may go about 5 minutes past the hour. I hope that's okay. I know several of you have asked about these resources. I'm going to put up a QR code at the end that will take you to a page where you can download several of these resources, including activities that we've shared today. So let's have a conversation that we might have at a more secondary level. Now, I want you to have the opportunity to practice this why try approach. And again, the summary of what this looks like in practice is we typically start with an image, and then we connect it to some concept that we're trying to teach, and then we try to make it engaging. So I know you guys, none of you have like the teacher's manual or background on this, but some of the visual metaphors are powerful enough that you can draw a lot out just by looking at them. So right now, just looking at this secondary image, I'm curious, can any of you look at this and draw any life lessons from this just by looking at the image without any context on it? And would you be willing to share in the chat anything that feels like this image might be trying to teach you? There's no wrong answers here. This is really just your initial reaction. Yeah, so Rachel says, trying to escape a scary situation. You might need assistance to get out of the situation. Teamwork makes the dream work. Not working together doesn't get you far. And then Sandra highlights, don't let others pull you down. It can feel really overwhelming. all of these are great pieces that can be used to be and taught using this visual metaphor approach. So our visual metaphors, our images, are these images that invite us to see our life within them. And then we have guided conversations using processing questions around these. And so let's just process through a few of these. I'm going to put a few, you can kind of read along. This main concept comes from the world of psychology. It's this thing called the crab effect, or the crab mentality, where if you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, you don't need to put a lid on it to keep them in, because if one tries to climb out, the others will grab it and try to pull it back in. And we have videos of this. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip the video because I have an object lesson I want to share with you. But this is a thing that really does happen in nature, where the crabs will pull each other back, even into warm water, which can, obviously come at the expense of all of their safety. Think about the kiddos that you work with. What would be some examples of metaphoric pots that some of your kiddos might be stuck in currently? Share in the chat what some of those might be. Yeah, it might be cycles of bullying, either as a bully or a student being bullied. It might be addiction. It might be any type of barrier that they have: academic failure, social issues, testing, substance abuse, habits of avoiding classes, anxiety and mental health challenges, family dynamics. All of these things can serve as pots that can create these scenarios that pull us back in. And we see this as educators. We'll make progress in our office or in our buildings, and then we know when our kiddos go back home to their community or their neighborhood, or sometimes even their own home, some of the work that the progress we just made is going to be undone as they get pulled back into these pots that they're in. And so we want to have honest and open conversations about the influence that others have in us, and how there are these pots that we can get stuck in. Bullet point 6 here is interesting to me. What are some reasons that a human might voluntarily stay in a pot, in a metaphoric pot that they're stuck in? Why do we as humans sometimes choose to remain in some of these pots that we're in? Yeah, that change can be really scary. We might have a lack of skills. Maybe we can't see our way out. It might be family traditions, comfort. It might be all that we know, lack of resources, the feeling of hopelessness. And then one of the big ones that comes up a lot is, a lot of times we believe we have friends or community in that pot. Even though we know sometimes those relationships may be unhealthy, that fear of loneliness, that fear of being alone, can cause us to remain in some of these pots as well, because it's like, at least I know I have friendship or companionship here. And if that crab breaks free and gets out of the pot, we don't know if there's a social circle or a social friend group waiting for them on the other side. And so it can make it really scary, really hard to break free from those. So we want to empower kids and have, sometimes tough conversations about what that might look like, what that might feel like. But we also want to get to the point of discussing reasons for getting out of the pot, what our future might look like when we get out, what are strengths and abilities we have that might help us get out of that. And then also there's this warning. Sometimes if we try to get out of certain pots, we might even be attacked, sometimes by friends or family members that are upset if they see us trying to leave or get out. And so we want to prep our kids, especially our secondary age kids, for this phenomenon that happens. And this is all happening at a much a slower pace than what I'm taking you through it today, but I'm going swiftly for the interest of time. Now, I do have time. I want to do an object lesson. So that's a quick overview. You can see between Corey's demonstration and mine, how you can take a visual metaphor and you can connect it to a concept, a skill of resilience. And then we always want to make it engaging through either media clips. Corey shared that great video of the capybara, or through object lessons. Corey did a great example of the drawing the kindest creature. I'm going to do a more traditional object lesson for you now. I'm going to play with fire here on a live feed. I hope this isn't too risky, but this is going to be kind of a fun science-based activity that can help us, I think, learn some interesting lessons about peer pressure. So I have here a classic science experiment. I've got the egg resting on the bottle. You can see that as a glass apple juice bottle, and that egg does not fit through the mouth of the bottle. So we're going to do a little science experiment to see what it would take to get that egg into the bottle, and it's going to involve playing with fire. So I've got a flammable liquid here. I've got some rubbing alcohol. I'm going to do 2 quick puffs, and I've got a match, and I'm going to create a situation where we can see if we can pull that egg into the bottle and then process why that might happen. So I'm going to get my egg ready and my match ready. Boom! Just like that, we now have an egg in a bottle. And it's kind of a cool process. That egg that didn't fit in before has now been pulled into the bottle. Do any of you have a hypothesis or an idea or a guess as to why that egg went into the bottle after the heat was introduced? Any thoughts on what it was? So Candace says pressure. Candace, you are right in a kind of a roundabout way. What it actually is kind of a difference in pressure. Any other thoughts on what might have caused that egg to go into the bottle after the heat was introduced? So that flame and that combustion burns up the oxygen in the bottle. Magic. Rachel, you got it. It burns up the oxygen in the bottle, and it creates a negative pressure in the bottle, sometimes called a vacuum. That vacuum is negative pressure. So that negative pressure pulls that egg into the bottle. So now here's the connection point. How is that example like peer pressure? Any thoughts on how that example is like peer pressure? Respond in the chat on any thoughts. Okay, there you go. That negativity can keep you down. It can pull you down, literally. It's really interesting. Where did the egg have to be to get pulled into the bottle? I brought the egg in a Tupperware bin. If I would have left the egg in the bin, it never would have ended up in the bottle. Where did the egg have to be to get pulled into that bottle? It was in the, there you go, Diane, exactly right. It was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It got too close to the negative pressure. So when we allow ourselves to get too close to some of that negative pressure in our lives, when we get too close in proximity to that negative peer pressure or that heat source, we can get pulled in very quickly. How long did it take that egg to get pulled into the bottle? It's like less than a second, right? And that can happen to us in life as well. When we get too close to certain negative situations in our life, we can get pulled in very, very quickly before we even realize what's happening. And once that happens, now we're really limited. This egg is very limited on the inside of the bottle. There's not a lot that it can do as long as it's stuck in the bottle. So kind of a fun object lesson that you can do in conjunction to that discussion and the visual metaphor of trying to climb out and break out of certain pots. We can also process visually how easy it is to get pulled into some of these pressure situations as well through an example like the object lesson of the egg in the bottle. And we have all this written up. We have processing questions written up to accompany each visual metaphor as well. It is possible to get the egg out. If you could do a quick puff of air, it'll create a reverse vacuum and push the egg out. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do it. But we want to keep things moving. So Corey, I'm going to throw back to you and let you have the opportunity to summarize some of your thoughts on this visual metaphor approach, kind of spanning across developmental stages, how we approach skills of resilience, and the Y-Trite approach in general.
Okay, that was unexpected. Thanks, Jason, for throwing me that curveball. I mean, my final thoughts on it are simply this. I mean, obviously, kindness and the importance of friendship and these kind of like you might call them basic ideas. We think they're so simple to understand that, again, a lot of times The way an adult attempts to teach it is simply by just explaining very passionately to kids how to be good friends, or don't go do what your friends are doing when it's bad, or you can't blame all of your friends for doing it. You chose to do it too. And we say these statements to kids like it's just going to sink in, they're going to grab hold of it, and they're going to start applying it to their life, when in reality we are trying to engage them in a learning process. And so it's important to tap into these different instructional strategies and different modes of learning to really create this experience that they have and start to shift their minds to help them understand these concepts and what it looks like for them in their everyday life. So you mentioned the stages of development. We've kind of hit it several times. Even the most basic of what it looks like to be kind is actually something we are all still figuring out, and you want to apply it in your life in different settings. Obviously it can be more complex in different arenas and as an adult, but it's complex to our kiddos. They feel it's very complex in some situations. So any of these principles can actually be taught to almost any grade or any age group, but I do love how they build on each other, and so keep that in mind. That's what I got. Love doing it though. Loved going through it with you.
Great job. Super fun. So we've packed a lot into this Why Try approach that we've outlined, and then we've really tried to model it for you. We've taken you through 2 of our visuals, plus 2 activities and some video clips, and tried to show how that all comes together through processing. What we want to do is we want to get some of these resources into your hands. And so I know several of you have asked about the visuals and the activities. And so we've got it set up. We want to share these with you as a thank you for being great in general, but also for attending the webinar today. I am going to put up a QR code, and this QR code will take you to a page that will allow you to download some of these exact resources that we used today. It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So if you'll hit this QR code, you can download some of these specific resources that we used today with outlines on them, as well as some of the processing questions. You'll also see on there's actually a very generous offer for those of you that may be interested in getting access to our entire toolkit. We have obviously much more resources beyond what we showed today. Rachel just asked, are these the same ones on the website if we have an account? Yeah, these all came directly from there. Now, that being said, Rachel, if you want to find out a little bit where some of these resources are located within the toolkit, feel free to reach out directly to Corey or me, and we'll be happy to guide you if you do have access to those, but you're not sure where we pulled them from. And so please hop on. One of you asked, we'll work on my cell phone screenshot. Yeah, grab the screenshot, and then you should be able to. If you'll hit the screenshot, it will take you to a web page. It will pull up a link on your phone that you can go to. And on that page, at the very top, there's a link that says download resources. Those are going to be the exact resources that we used today. We will be sending out a follow-up email if any of you are struggling with the QR code, where you can start an engagement with us. And on that follow-up email, just respond to that and say, I was in the webinar, I couldn't get the QR code to work, but I'd like the resources, and we'll be happy to arrange getting those to you. We also have an offer, like I mentioned on there, for any of you that are interested in the entire toolkit. There's a very generous offer right now for you to be able to access that if you're interested, and that includes training as well. Click the download for the free resources. Okay, interesting. Bethany, send Corey or me an email, and we'll arrange to get that to you as well. So if any of you are struggling with the link, look for a follow-up email, and that email will be able to engage with you on it. And absolutely, Simon, we will tell Christian that you said hello. So with that, that's the conclusion for the resources we wanted to share and model today. As far as closing thoughts for the day, for the webinar today, I just want to thank everybody for showing up, for coming in and engaging well. I hope our passion for the topic comes through in our presentation, and I think it does. But I am very, very passionate about these skills of resilience. The skills of resilience make a huge difference in our kiddos' lives, in our individuals' lives. I find myself trying to figure out how to apply them in my own life as well. And I really love teaching them. And this Y-Try approach of making it engagement and building it around visual metaphors is really, really